But I was telling you because I was telling you I was like I'm trying to like find my peace and like trying to find like peace of mind with stuff, and I realized like going to the gym and being at the gym is like one of those places where I like constantly feel that way. And I was like, I wonder if like there's something to that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it's always, I think that's part of it, man, is like sometimes you get these ideas about things you want to do or directions you want to go in, and the only way you're going to figure out if that's like the right thing is by just doing it.
Yeah, sometimes that's what you got to do.
You know, obviously in the context of like not hurting anybody.
Yeah. Still be able to live, afford your bills.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
What's
that,
up, Victor?
And if you can do that, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, it obviously, you know, it would just be like a side thing for a while. And then like I would probably do a whole bunch of like free stuff, try to help my friends out and like program workouts for them. Cause like I can do it all now. Like I think like on a like very basic level, like I kind of understand how it all works because I've been involved with it for so long, just as like as a person who had a personal trainer. And I'm like, I wonder if I could actually like put that to use and actually help people. Because I was thinking it's like for me, it would probably be more along the lines of trying to get people who've never had interest in doing that involved with it to make their lives better, not necessarily trying to help with like people who are trying to do like lifting competitions and stuff like that. Because everybody's got kind of their area, you know what I mean? So we'll see. I'm gonna look into it and kind of see what that would mean. Because I don't know if you know, but one of my old managers when we were in college, Blake, that's what he does now.
Oh, he's full time in that.
Yeah, he's actually the reason I started working out like regularly.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, he like, dude, he total like transformation for him.
Oh, he completely transformed his life.
Dude, yeah. And I can't remember if we had like talked or something was going on, but like I've been following him online forever because we worked together for like years. And at one point, like I messaged him, I was like, dude, you're literally one of the reasons I started doing this.
Yeah.
So
anyway. I would tell you this, when I had jobs that I really disliked or hated, I was putting so much effort into this podcast. So, I'm just going to commit because I'm like, I would much rather do this.
It does that, right? Like that.
Go ahead. It really lights the fire underneath you because I truly would enjoy doing this full time, even if I didn't get paid as much as I do at my current job, even if it was just enough to pay the bills. I would enjoy doing this more than anything else I've done so far in my life.
Yeah. I agree. And, like, I've been slowly editing shorts again. Finished one last night that I'll put out eventually. I will say this, Joseph. I was listening to a bit of our episode from last week, and congratulations. I mean, pretty easy layup predictions, but still a successful prediction on Elio bombing.
Appreciate it.
$150 million budget made $30 million last weekend, and it's not going to go up from there.
And I'm not so sure. I'm nervous about my Superman prediction. I got to say, I'm starting to get nervous.
You're not sure, huh? Well, dude, I'm
not getting complete cold feet yet, but the AC's hitting them. You know what I mean?
Yep. We'll see. Listen. I don't know how the movie's gonna do. I don't know how. That one is a weird one for me. Like, I don't think I'm gonna like Fantastic Four. I think I've seen enough of the trailer that I look at it and I go, I'm probably not gonna like this movie.
Oh yeah.
Jurassic World will probably just be a dumb dinosaur movie like we've been talking about. So maybe there'll be some things to like about it, and then other stuff that's like, of course, this is the way that went down, And then Superman is the kind of the question mark for me because I like stuff from the trailers. There's other stuff from it that I'm not so sure about. And it's a movie that I just need to see as a whole. This happens sometimes where it's kind of unsure about how it's all going to work out. And sometimes the trailer's excellent. The movie turns out to be kind of dog water.
Yes.
Well, at least,
Speaking
I would probably argue half of the movie, but that does really ultimately lead to the movie kind of being dog water, which sucks. Strong out the gates, doesn't hold
strong out the gate.
Strong out the gate, man. You know,
a lot of spoiler warnings.
Yes,
but
we are going to spoil the crap out of 28 Years Later. So if you haven't seen it yet, can't really recommend watching it in the theater.
Ooh.
To be honest, if you haven't seen
a lot of zombie genitalia.
Yeah, a lot of zombie peen. A lot of zombie peen in this movie.
And I was not expecting it.
I didn't want to tell you, to be honest. I was like, uh-oh. But if you haven't seen 28...
it's weird, too, when your main... Well,
go ahead.
One of the things that ticks me off with this movie, it's probably not the primary thing. One of the things that ticks me off with this movie is it's a bait and switch. The trailer sets up that Aaron Taylor is going to be the... that's his name, right?
Aaron Taylor Johnson, is that right?
Johnson, I think.
Yeah.
Sets it up that he's going to be the main character. No, it completely pulls the rug out from underneath your feet. The kid's the main character. The problem I have with the kid being the main character and just involved in this is, and you can tell me what you think.
Yeah.
I understand that the director used prosthetics for the genitalia, both the male and female.
Oh.
But my point is like, why did they have to be naked? I understand, I tried to find things from him and understand they were probably going for realism.
Sure.
But there's a line, and I think you and I have discussed this before, like, I don't need sex in movies and TV shows. I don't need nudity. I don't need this stuff. Like, there's ways you can allude to things. Now, this isn't sexual in nature.
Well,
it's just zombie, like, nudity.
Yeah. And they do at times, they're very, like, dirty and decaying. So you realize that they're not wearing clothes, but it's not like typical nudity. But then there's those intentional shots of like the dude's dong, and you're just sort of like,
yes. And my point is,
why are we doing this?
Like, 28 years later, the clothes would probably be disintegrated or worn, or they wouldn't be wearing.
Right,
I get that.
Right.
But we're talking about a fictional movie, so this is the time I'm gonna be like, okay, the realism aspect I don't need with the clothes.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's like,
Can I
it's
ask you a question?
Like, it reminds me of.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I was just say, if let's say this movie played out the way that was what we were kind of expecting, and it's sort of it's what's called the wolf and cub sort of like plot. This is literally what one of the reasons
sort of coming of age story.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. It's the older character teaching the younger character how to survive in a brutal world, and this is literally it's God of War 2018 and Ragnarok. Like, that's the like overarching sort of like archetype that they were going for, was the wolf and cub. It's Kratos, who has gone through a ton of stuff, and he's working through his past and the awful things that he's done to people, and he's trying to teach his son to be a better person. It's inspiring. I know some people have problems with it, but I think they're crazy and they're focused way too much on some of the like pushed DEI stuff that's in the second game, which isn't even really. There's like one section of it that's like that everybody always points to, and I'm like, that game's like 30 hours long. Like, let's talk about there's things to appreciate about that game. And when this movie started, I was like, that's cool. It's kind of what they're going for. I was like, I'm kind of into this, right? It's like, he's this kid, he's scared, something's wrong with his mother, and you're not really sure what's going on with that. There was the sort of that opening scene with the boy who's like watching Teletubbies with his family, and his like mother dies. Like, dude, honestly, it's just like, it starts out and I'm like, I'm into this. This is cool. All right, I like what they're doing with this. Or it's like, all right, he's teaching his son, and then I guess we're spoiling everything, so it doesn't really matter. And they do a lot of really interesting things with that, and like that first hour is like really setting up a lot of interesting stuff. Even when they like get back, and Aaron Taylor Johnson, his character is not, he's not faithful to his wife, and I was like, man, they're kind of trying to set up a very like mature story here, and like the son is going to be like struggling with this, and like we'll get to see the father's perspective, and maybe like the two of them are going to kind of like come to this like understanding of like,
right.
Aaron Taylor Johnson, he's like, okay, maybe like I need to be a better father to my son, and that means like sacrificing certain things that I want for the sake of my family, and then all of it just goes out the window. And I was just like, it's like completely it's two different movies. Like the first movie ends after the first hour, and
they completely switch it up halfway through,
and it just becomes a different movie.
Yep, as soon as I think I gave the point in the Region Soldier, but I think before that, as soon as he decides to leave with his mother, that's where it completely falls off.
Yeah,
and starts to make does it start to make any sense from that point? I would say like the opening scene, starting with the opening scene, I didn't really care too much for the opening scene. I would have preferred. Well, I get they're trying to grip you in because of the kids and everything like that. And I know it doesn't show anything. It seems like in a lot of media lately, harm for children has been the forefront, not in any sort of like bad sense, like they're trying to promote it, but it just seems to be in a lot of media lately. And I don't necessarily like that. Don't think that that's, and maybe some cases in some films it's needed. This isn't one of those, mainly just because of the setup of the previous two movies.
I think if there
outside
had been...
of that though, like as we were talking about, the first half of the movie is actually pretty decent.
It's solid,
with the exception of that and the zombie nudity.
And it's again, even in the first like hour, it's kind of not that big of a deal. Yeah, it's the second half. What it feels like is that someone had an idea for the movie, they got the first half of it done, and then there was a bunch of meddling with the second half. Now I could be wrong about that, because I think Gareth Edwards. No, Alex Garland wrote this, which he has a kind of a rough record for me at this point. Might actually,
that kind of explains it.
It might also explain some of the the nudity in it. There's like Annihilation. There's stuff that I like in that, and Ex Machina is cool, but he wrote. I'm pretty sure he wrote Civil War.
Yeah.
So here we are.
He also wrote Dread.
Wait, did he really?
Yeah, he was.
Bro, what's happening?
I know. He was one of the writers though. It wasn't just like his. So that it was a trio of writers on that. He was one of them.
He was just one of them. Okay, so that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know what's going on. I'm so lost as to like the thought process.
He was on 28 Days Later too.
Wait, he helped with 28 Days Later?
Yeah, so Danny Boyle did 28 Days and he did this one. Why does this one suck?
Well, to be fair, 28 Days Later came out 30 years ago. Wait, no, not 30 years ago. It was 2003, so 20-something years.
I wanted to get back around. Like there was a full point I was going to make with the nudity.
No, you're good.
So I totally get the argument of realism. I just think there's a line, and there's ways you can, as I was saying, allude to things. But then also there's probably some lines you don't cross. One of those lines for me personally is when you have a 15-year-old kid that's going to be your main character, and you're like, well, how do I get around having nudity in this because of child labor laws? Oh, let me just make everything prosthetics. That's weird. That's just extremely weird.
It is.
If you're going to have a kid at all,
that's weird.
You don't need to have it anywhere.
Yeah.
Because again, that's just extremely weird. I don't care who you are. And then secondly, when we talk about realism, I like what Peter Jackson said when someone was asking him about lighting in some scene with Lord of the Rings, like where'd the lighting come from in this specific scene? I can't remember what it was. And he said the same place where the music came from.
Yeah, dude, people complain about the lighting in those movies all the time. This is like,
I get you want natural setup to lighting. I get that, but sometimes it's like we've talked about this with House of the Dragon. We talked about this with Game of Thrones and other movies and television shows. I'd rather just see something. Like, I mean, I can tell that it's night, but like, I don't need it to
I
be
would like
pitch
to see
black and
things
two
too.
characters
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah,
Like, I
exactly.
get that it's at night and that light's probably, we're
But
watching a movie here, though, people.
yeah, you know that it's nighttime. The idea is it's dark. It's clear that what they want is for it to be nighttime. You don't have to make it 100% obvious. And dude, maybe what it is, like ultimately, maybe what it is it's just this like this modern mentality on how to make movies.
Just hyper realism.
And it's not, yeah, like we talk about this all the time. Like the writing is very, very important. And your plot and your characters making decisions that are consistent with the way that they're written. And that you know, with this, like I was saying, like, because I've heard some people talk about how, like, they didn't really like that Aaron Taylor Johnson was cheating on his wife. And I'm like, okay, I understand that, but you can create a lot of really good drama there. You can create drama to show that he's not, because
it was kind of random. But I didn't mind it because I'm like, okay, well, this is a different, as you were just talking about, aspect to create drama and tension.
Yeah.
And build. Like, I was assuming, okay, going forward, it was going to be Aaron Taylor and his son, and maybe at some point they did get disconnected, and through a fight they have because of this, and he has to go after his son in the midst of this zombie infected world, something like that. But now I look back on that and I'm like, no, that affair is just completely stupid. And
yeah, well, that's the problem, is because they don't, all of it's a bunch of like loose threads, and it's the thing. And I've heard some other people mention this, and it's very true. And we haven't. It might be a little early, but there's not a lot of patience for people to be like waiting for the sequel to come out because of who's probably directing it.
Yep.
And
that's the other thing. I shouldn't have to wait for the second movie to come out regarding every single thread in the movie.
Exactly.
Every storyline.
Yeah, pretty much everything is left for the sequel.
Yeah, the branch, maybe. Okay, that makes sense. Like, the branch of Lord of the Rings was, the main storyline was Frodo get ring to mountain to destroy Sauron.
Yeah.
But you had all these other branches, like the Fellowship of the Ring. It stood on its own as a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Two Towers stood on its own as a good movie. Return of the King stood as on as a good movie. All three of them together flow. And this one doesn't have any legs to stand on because everything's like, just wait for the next movie.
Yeah, they finished 28 years later in an hour and moved on to everything that's like setting up for the future. And it's one of the reasons why, like, because I liked the opening, but I also agree with you. And I think that if that had landed better, because like I was expecting that character to show back up in this movie, which he does, but like not until the last like 2 minutes. And it's like, it becomes a like comic book cartoony at that point.
Yeah.
And it was like, what are we
talking about
doing?
the Power Rangers?
Yeah, yeah. I was like, what are we
doing?
I was like, and I don't think we're in the like the minority with this. But I have seen the other two movies. 28 Days Later is a personal favorite. And it is a very like grounded, call them zombies if you want, but it's very grounded and set in reality. Like everything that they were trying to do with that, this, and also like the setups and the payoffs and the way that the virus works, like everything. Now it's been a while. I'm sure there's like some things here and there that you could be like, not so much. But I think overall, it's a solid movie. Like I think you could look at that and study that as an example of like, this is how you make this kind. This is how you make this kind of movie.
Right.
And I just don't know. And I think the first hour speaks to that. It feels very much in a similar vein. And yeah, I don't know. I'm probably harping on the fact that there's such a big quality difference in the writing between the first half and the second half, because I like the acting. I think all of the actors for what they're given are doing really well.
The acting carries this movie. All of them are great.
Oh,
the
dude,
main character, the teenager, actually puts this movie on his back and does a good job, because you're not expecting it, and when he shows up, I mean,
I don't think
he does a decent job.
Yeah, and I don't know, because we're not going to find out until the sequel. But like Ralph Finnis is really good for what they gave him as the doctor, and that's the kind of it's probably mystery box at this point, but if you're setting up a character and you don't want to show all of your cards right away with that character, he's done correctly, just in the sense of like, you have this like unease about him and he seems really weird, but because he's treating the kid well, you're like, okay, maybe he's not such a bad guy. And then you're kind of wondering like, all right, what's with him? And so that's stuff that you can explore in a sequel, and I think that works fine.
I think his setup, him being a doctor out there and having the monument and stuff like that, I don't know, it makes me wonder how he wasn't killed yet. I get that he's really good and iodine and all this stuff and all this stuff he's found out and
at least they are attempting with that. And I told you this before, like I think yesterday or whatever. I was like, for a movie that's not that great, it's still one of the better things I've seen this year, which is kind of sad when it comes down to it, because it's like, and obviously there's still a bunch of stuff that's like on my backlog that it's like a lot of indie stuff mostly that I haven't caught up on yet. But I think, Joseph, I might have been wrong about my prediction about this year being stronger for movies, and I think this is one of the first like loose. Like the legs are getting a little weak on this year as far as movies are concerned.
Yeah, they are. It is. And I don't know. I just thought that was weird. I also thought it was weird. Why wouldn't he have killed the alpha by now, considering how smart Ralph's character is supposed to be? That's odd to me, because that would be your biggest threat that's around you that you would want to.
So in a normal setting where this movie was what we kind of thought it was going to be, and the doctor is introduced, and he, it's still, I think, totally fine that the kid wants to find a cure for his mother, so on and so forth. Like, there's so much you would have to do to get that plot thread to follow through correctly that I don't think we have time to even really like entertain a lot of that right now. But hypothetically, the first half of the movie works out the way that it does. Sorry, the troll room's killing me. That works out that way, and then you connect the son wanting to figure out how to save his mother and the connection of keeping his father in the story instead of completely benching him for the rest of the movie. Talk about a loose thread. Like, we get there's no payoff. There's no satisfaction to any of the stuff that they set up with his character, which is why it does suck. Like, I agree. It's really annoying that I'm sitting here going like, oh, cool. They're really trying to like make this kind of like mature movie and be like, all right, like, how do we add a bit of like dynamic to Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, so he's not just like the kind of cocky dad who his son is like a little annoyed with because of the way that he acts or whatever. And it's like, all right, you're really going to give him like this thing, and it doesn't go anywhere.
And they're like, was fine. Like, maybe you have a fight regarding the affair, but as far as when him and oh man, I got to pull up the IMDb. But when Aaron Taylor's character and the son,
Jamie,
when they have their literal fight, and Aaron Taylor's character, what's his name? Oh, Jamie. Yep, Jamie, and then Jimmy, who's his son, right?
No, Jimmy is the kid from the beginning of the movie.
Okay.
That's you see, it's like Jimmy.
Yeah. No. Okay. So where's he at?
Dude, that sequel's gonna
Spike. That's it.
That sequel's gonna be bad.
So when Jamie punches Spike in the face, hits him in the face, it was just weird to me. That felt. I get they're trying to build up all this pressure, and I don't know. It just seemed we need this to happen so that we can make him leave. And it's like, guys, you could have done that without.
You already brought him down.
His character smack him in the face.
Yeah, you already brought him down a peg as someone who's like cheating on his ailing wife. Like, you didn't necessarily need to make him hit his kid too. Maybe a little too far, but I think overall, there was still something to work with there, and they
some type of redemption. Some,
yeah, dude.
some type
Alex
of,
Garland,
go after my son. Understand?
Alex Garland,
go ahead.
He didn't take enough notes from God of War, because from what I've heard, and I don't know how true this is, or if this is just like creators blowing smoke with each other, but he was like talking to Neil Druckmann at one point. I guess he like interviewed him and had talked about how he liked a lot of the stuff in The Last of Us. Which, yeah, that should have been a bit of a warning. But, it's one of those things that's like, you just never know, right? Like, and maybe at this point it's more of the exception than the rule that we get something like season 1 of Arcane and season 1 of House of the Dragon, and then things just kind of like, and it's like there were warning signs there, but those turned out to be okay, even though like the predecessors to both of those ended up being not nearly as good, especially Arcane.
Especially Arcane. And I thought season 2 of House of Dragon was good.
It's fine. I don't think it just doesn't. It's partially because they didn't release those last 2 episodes during that season.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I'm remembering now.
Yeah,
it was just fine. You're absolutely right.
There's a lot of really.
I just remembered. I'm like, they didn't release the last 2 episodes, and then
there's a lot of good stuff in it.
Just makes a bunch of weird decisions.
Still sitting around, barely doing anything, and it just it doesn't have movies, television, stories, the whole deal. There's sort of this almost like waveform to the way that your plot needs to work, where you have these ebb and flows of like, your characters are on a high, they get knocked down off their pedestal, they come up, and then like depending on your character, sometimes those highs lead them into new areas and their lives get better. Sometimes it leads them down. Sometimes they get to those highs and then they're killed, and so that totally cuts off. There's ways to set up drama and do all these things, and that was, again, with 28 years later, that's one of the biggest problems we have, is because they basically are setting it up so that, he's both Spike and Jamie, the father and son, are setting out on this adventure, and they're going up and up and up. And like one of the things that I love about it is that they're setting up this thing where for Spike, this is sort of like a descent into hell, and obviously not hell literally, but it's the way that the literary way of doing it, where you're sending someone into a situation where it's like war or something that is going to test their limits as a person, and some people
has to grow up a lot faster
yes
than he wants to in this cruel world.
Yeah, and some people rise above it and some people fall into it. So if you look at, like, Star Wars is a really good example of that, right? And it works really well, even though I don't care for the prequels that much. If you look at the prequels and you look at the sequels, Anakin Skywalker, his journey and his hero's journey, at least until you get into the sequel trilogy, is essentially his descent into hell, and then that overtaking him. He submits to the darkness, essentially. And then you look at Luke Skywalker, and his is the opposite. So they have like similar starting places. They go through similar journeys. One of them ultimately is the hero, and then one of them falls. But then you also have the redemption arc for the character who falls, which is what makes that work so well. It's just too bad that I think the prequels could have been a lot better. But we're not talking about that tonight. We're just looking at sort of those overarching plot points, and that's how you make this stuff work really well. It's like you do need to have your hero struggle and fail and fall and overcome, and that's. Yep. It doesn't mean that if you want to take your characters all as like your heroes, some of them, they struggle, they fail, they overcome. Some of them struggle and fail. Maybe they fail for a very long time, and then there is a redemption arc later on for them. That's that payoff. And sometimes that means they lose their life. Sometimes that means that they go on to do other things. It just kind of depends on how you want to write the story, but all of it can be really satisfying. What you shouldn't do, even if you are making a sequel, is just cut off characters halfway through your script and then never really talk about them again, and then they just thrash around angrily in the water and the movie ends.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what are we doing?
You don't have their escape. I thought it was weird. Like, his escape was planning that fire out to get his mom out, and I'm like, this is all the people y'all have watching the main gate where if you're gonna have a problem, this is the one that you want to keep. I
kind of feel like if it was me, I would have looked at that kid and be like, don't worry, they got it. And they'd be like, what? Be like, yeah, I'm staying right here. It's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. There are plenty of people that can take care of that fire. They don't also need me.
I think there could have been, like, you probably could have set it up to where if you're gonna have the dad strike the son and he's like, oh crap, what did I do? Like, I let my emotions get the best of me, like I'm terrible. He starts hating himself and stuff like that.
They might have gotten to that.
The son says to him, well, if you really love me and care about me, you'll help me get mom better. And this is his way, this is the father's way to redeem himself. He's like, okay, I'm gonna, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because you could have even had the son, like, let's take the fire thing and let's just run with that for now, because that's what they came up with. So he gets out. Let's say he doesn't take his mom, because that is pretty dumb. Like, it's a huge liability. And what they would have needed to do was the setup for the first part of that movie probably needed to be a little bit better. Like, he learns a little, you keep it the same, but say he like actually accomplishes something pretty profound within that first hour besides killing one of the like fat zombies. And
he gets way more training than just going out one time.
Yeah, like they could have figured out a way to make that work a little bit better. But again, I don't want to take the time to try to like dissect that deep into what they would have needed to do correctly to make it work. But let's just say like maybe he becomes a little too overconfident, and so he goes out on his own, and that's how one of the reasons. And he goes on his own to try to find the doctor. At some point, Jamie, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, knows what's happening, because they set all of this up, and again, it just doesn't really go anywhere, where they're like, you can't leave without permission, and if you go out there, no one's coming after you. And it's like, no father worth his salt would have let his son do that, whether he went out by himself or whether he took his mother with him. He would have. He's clearly experienced. He clearly understands the terrain, and he would have known what his son was trying to do, and he would have gone after him. And so you give them a certain amount of time where the two of them are separated from each other. It gives. Maybe someone has a conversation before Aaron Taylor Johnson leaves the community to go after his son, and he realizes his mistakes, from the affair to like hitting his son, and he's like, I have to make things right. And so he goes after them, and that's where that true bond between the father and son happens. You can probably keep everything with his wife the same. You probably can take out, is his name Eric, the Swedish soldier? You can probably remove that entire plot. It doesn't. It goes nowhere. The only thing that could have been interesting with something like that is if there had been more discussion about the outside world and the conflict there, because Eric's entire character is basically set up to kind of be a joke, and it doesn't really land all that well, and he doesn't whatever. Agree. So you kind of remove that. It's really the story about this family coming to terms with, because I'll tell you, like, one of the things that I do like, and it's a theme in the movie, is just sort of like this idea of disease and the way that it affects people. And there's like these things that are in there that I'm like, yeah, there's like some stuff
that you can work with,
and stuff that I do genuinely like about this movie. And the idea of like dealing with death and dealing with this like idea of death being around you all the time, and being like young and having to deal with a tragedy like losing your mother. And there's all of this stuff that like does work really well. They just don't stick the landing. They trip halfway through, and you're trying, you're like, okay, yeah, no, okay, this doesn't really work. His mother at one point like saves his life when he falls asleep trying to like keep watch. They don't really explain any of that or where any of that is going. It's odd, brother, man.
You also got the part where somehow she's just able to get way farther ahead of Spike and the Swedish soldier, and she just happens to find a female zombie that's
giving birth.
And the
I
zombie
don't
doesn't
even.
attack her. They have a moment, and then her son and the soldier come up, and they don't even decide to, kill it.
Yeah, and so there's like stuff that I think I'm okay with that. Again, it's hard to tell because it starts to feel like a and then sort of thing. There's an interesting idea behind, because they're not, so the zombies, I'm pretty sure they're technically still human. Like, it's like your typical zombies, they're decaying creatures. And the way that was originally set up in 28 Days Later is that it's a virus that's like affecting your mind. It's basically like rabies. And the reason that they die out is because they can't get a food source. And so over time, you basically can wait them out. And because they don't have a food source, they die. And then the infection 28 weeks later deals a lot with like the infection still being around, and then like a carrier whose mind doesn't like get infected the way that everybody else does, but she still carries that. And so like there's something to be said about that, and then like the virus evolving or changing and adapting to the situation. So it's like, sure, at one point the food thing was a problem, but they're getting smarter. They're starting to actually like hunt to stay alive. And then maybe there's something there if you can really make your audience like convinced of it, where it's like they're also breeding, but when they're breeding, the children are coming out normal. Like, that's interesting. There is something to that, but the movie doesn't do anything. They were just
supposed to be more animalistic. I mean,
maybe. But what I'm saying is, it's like, if that's what you want to do, there's probably a way to make it work and make it interesting and add drama to it. But the problem is that, like I was saying, it gets into this, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. And so there's not time for them to actually digest the ideas that they're putting together, and that's where you're going to have a lot of people. And I guarantee you, Joseph, I'm going to make clips about this, and I'm going to put them out there, and everyone's going to go, well, wait for the sequel. Wait to see what they do next. And it's like, I don't want to do that.
I don't want to. I don't even want to see the sequel now.
Yeah, it's getting directed by the lady that did the Marvels. Like, what are we talking about?
Oh man, that's funny. What did you think about the euthanasia plot point with his mother? Did you happen to think of Canada when that happened?
I think that in a better movie they could have made that more convincing.
Yeah.
I think that you don't now. And I also, the question that I would ask is, were they trying to make a real world point with that, or was it an in-world decision that was being made?
Yeah.
That's like, she wants to go out on her own terms. Could you have done that better? Probably. Is she actually dead? Who knows?
Yep.
Because that all, this is kind of the problem again with like sequel bait or mystery boxes, is that people will go, well, obviously they're probably setting it up where she's not actually dead, and there are probably clues that people are picking up on that are telling them that she's not dead, and that maybe the doctor is not quite as like pure of heart, or as kind of like the way, like they want to set him up as eccentric, right? Like, oh, the reason that he hasn't killed the alpha yet is because he's still kind of off his rocker, and he's got a bit of this mad scientist thing, but he's more like on maybe the neutral of that than he is on the like evil side of it, and that maybe there is more of an evil side to it when we get to the sequel. But again, that is going to require us to wait for them to put the sequel out. And it's like, I'm just trying to work with what I got right now. And I also think that part could have been more interesting and stronger if you got both sides of it, which you don't. They kind of just like give in to the idea of it, and obviously the cancer is going to take her, as we find out. I also think maybe they shouldn't have done cancer.
Yeah.
I think I would have gone with dementia, because I thought that's what it was. I thought she had like early dementia or
that's kind of what I was thinking too.
Yeah, and then they're like, it's cancer. Like yeah, it's cancer, and it's like infecting her brain or whatever. And I get it, because like I was saying, I think that's kind of part of the theme that they're going for, is like this, you know, you live in this world that's full of infected, and like you're not dying of the typical infection now, you're dying of cancer. And it's like it's hard, because it's like, at least with the infection, like they know how to fight it, they know how to hold it off, but something like cancer, it's inevitable, especially in the world that they live in. So again, I think there's a way for them to have dealt with that. Just not a fan of it. But I do, you know, I like Ralph Finnis or Finnis. I don't know how you say his last name, unfortunately. I'm sorry, everyone.
I thought it was pronounced Fiends.
Fines? Is it Rafe? Is it Ralph?
I thought it was Fiends.
Ralph Fiends. Someone will tell us, because everyone likes to correct my wrong pronunciation of people's names. I don't care. I'll call him what I want. I like him as an actor. I think he does a really good job with the material that he's given. I think everybody does, like I was saying, and obviously some of the material is better than other bits of it.
I can't get over that zombie being pregnant, and
I knew that was coming, dude. It feels more like a shock factor.
And then baby coming out fine, and them taking the baby, and then the alpha knowing that they had like there's so many questions that I'm like, what?
And that's part of the problem, right? Is that they don't explore any of it. They just go, yeah, this is what's happening, right? And you're just like, I guess.
And then this happens, and then this happens, and now we have a Norwegian soldier or a Swedish soldier that was dropped here.
And you didn't need it. We didn't need to introduce the outside world in this movie. You could have saved it for another movie.
Why would they talk about the Britain being quarantined?
Yeah.
And it's like, why wouldn't the rest of the world just bomb the freaking crap out of it to not risk it? Because as I understand it, if I remember correctly, from 28 days and 28 weeks is just a blood droplet get into your eye. Like, this thing is highly contagious.
It's very, very contagious.
Also, they retconned at the end of 28 weeks later, the zombies going into France. Whatever. But
everybody, I think everybody likes to forget 28 weeks later. I need to go back and watch it again, because I have some memories of it.
There's aspects of the movie that I like.
That opening I really like. This movie
considers this 28 weeks later, and this movie is the same to me. Great concepts in it, poor execution.
Yeah. I need to go back and watch it again.
Unfortunately, that seems to be.
It's like everything.
The thing going on these days.
We were talking about the stuff we've seen this year.
Still haven't seen Warfare, man. I need to watch Warfare and Death of a Unicorn.
Yeah, those are on my list. It's funny, man. We talk about this a lot, and I gotta put my money where my mouth is. And I started watching a bunch of really low budget indie flicks over the weekend.
Yeah.
A lot of it in similar vein of it being like coming of age stories and about these like kids growing up and learning to deal with like relationships and friends and growing apart and like lives changing. And it's a majority of it is just these actors acting, right? Like, these aren't action movies or horror movies or anything like that. They're, dramas / you could call them like semi like romantic comedies, I guess, but not in your typical sense. And it's just like kids learning to deal with their lives changing and having conversations about that, and like falling in love and falling out of love, and what all of that like looks like. And I'm sitting here watching this stuff, and I'm like, this isn't half bad. They were like varying degrees. Like, one of them I was like, it wasn't very good. There's like one of them that I watched, dude, it's so funny. It's about this kid who like becomes a junior lifeguard on the beach in like California, and he has his best friend. And at one point before the movie's over, it literally goes, yeah, we just stopped being friends, and I never saw him again. I was like,
that's kind of what happens in this movie. He just Ralph Fiennes' character, the doctor, says to Spike, you should go home now, and he just
it was so jarring. But
but that's the other point with this movie, is that it's tonally inconsistent. The editing is terrible, in my opinion. Or let me phrase it: the editing's below average. I don't want to say it's terrible; it's below average. I don't like the cuts of the old footage.
It's a little too on the nose, isn't it? Like, we can't figure out. I get what they were doing.
It's probably a stylistic thing that just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
But I just think it's bad. It's like, man, you're just filling this movie with this stuff and, these scenes from these other movies to bring home these points. And it's like, guys, we get it. Like, maybe one time is fine. It didn't need to keep happening.
You know how?
But then there are other.
I was saying, how you can make that successful
of the editing that I did like. Go ahead.
So how like they're cutting in these like old wartime footage and trying to make see, like, you see what this community is. You know how else you could probably make that point across? Like, spend time in the community, write dialogue where characters are speaking to each other in a natural way that gets those points across. But it also, it's one of those things. It's like, you look at this, because I wasn't 100% sure if he was trying to go for a more like sinister vibe with that community, or if because you look at it and you go, well, what other choice do they have? Like, what are we talking about here? They
have to be brutal. I mean, they know how dangerous
it's survival
viruses, and that gets back to what we were talking about earlier. It's a mindless aggression, which is why a lot of decisions regarding the zombies, or whatever you want to call them, the infected, in this movie didn't make sense to me, is because they're supposed to be mindlessly aggressive. And so, like, to your point, getting back to the editing though, if you spend time in the community and you show scenes of them acting in a way that's similar to Roman times, or hearkening back to King Arthur and the days of medieval battle, it's like, okay, like, you have this modern society that's gone back to these more primitive times.
Yeah. I'm just like looking at it and I go, wait, is it a problem? Because there's this, and again, talking about like loose threads or things that they don't really have payoff for, that maybe they're set up for. I'm fine with the idea that the virus is evolving, maybe even the idea of like having alphas and having people who get infected who the virus affects differently, and that they have these like different communities. The problem is there's like moments in it where it feels like they want you to have like sympathy for the rabies monsters, and it's like, what are we doing here?
Why can't we just have monsters be monsters? Like, we already know this is an unfortunate situation of these people like getting infected. Like, that's enough. We already have the human connection. You know why? Because we're humans. Like, it doesn't mean that you don't have to work on that in the movie and highlight that. You can, but there's more ways to do that than trying to necessarily show the zombies or the infected as being sympathetic, versus you spend time with these amount of characters, so to say, and the build up and the setup, and then one of them becomes an infected and they have to be killed.
Yeah, I think, because this goes back to what I was talking about with those indie movies. I think people are they're like trying too hard to mash in all these complicated ideas and make things more intelligent than the capacity is to like make it that. Does that make sense? Yeah, so you can make this very simple boy and his son, and I think it a lot of the time you can make your points better, again, just by having dialogue with these characters. So you want to talk about sort of the potential humanity, like where humanity's at, where they're at on this island, how things are going. You can have that dialogue with the boy and with the father and his son, where they're sitting down and the son's like, why does it feel like when I kill these things that they're in pain? Or, and he's having all these like emotions because he's 13 or something like that, 12 maybe. And right. He doesn't fully understand. And then so you have his perspective, and then you also have his father's perspective, and it's not necessarily that like either of them are wrong, but you understand that they're in different places. It's kind of the same thing with the affair scenario in that it's not a justification of him doing that, but you understand the world that they live in, and that the choice that he's making is a very human choice, because he probably feels isolated and alone because he's trying to be the father and the provider of his household, and his wife's like falling apart. And so like you have like such an interesting dynamic where like the son sees it in the proper way for the context, like regardless of the situation, but at the same time you're like, he's not just,
you can see where he would be coming from. It's completely
right.
the wrong decision, the wrong thing to do.
Right.
Nothing justifies it. Doesn't matter the context, but you can understand how someone could get to that.
Get to that position. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at. And that's why I was saying it's like it feels very mature, and then they just kind of forget all of that, and it's like, the father's not important anymore. And you're like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? It's like, this is how you set the movie up. This is what all the trailers were. Though if you go back and watch the trailers, like his mother actually is in them quite a bit, and I think sort of the artistry of those trailers hides a little bit of that.
Bro, they nailed that trailer. They did a great job on that trailer.
It's just so frustrating, man. And it's like now we're moving into the summertime, and there's some like kind of interesting stuff coming out, but again, it's all like smaller stuff that could be good or could not. So the guy that did
Jurassic World or Rebirth or whatever,
bro, what? Yeah,
being amazing.
Yeah, it's just like a 10 out of 10. That'd be so funny. I doubt it will be. It just, again,
That'd be awesome. I hope it is.
I think it's just going to be more dinosaur slop. And if it doesn't hit $1 billion, it's going to get really close.
Definitely is.
But I think, I think of the three, it's the one that's got the biggest likelihood of getting there. And then we'll see about Superman, man. Superman is one of those movies that I think it'll probably do pretty well opening weekend, and its long-term success depends on how that first opening weekend goes for them.
It's going to be based off of word of mouth.
Yeah,
for sure.
I do want to see F1. That comes out in a couple days.
Oh yeah, I do as well.
And then there's this the guy that directed and wrote Barbarian, which I mostly liked. I think it's like really solid first half, pretty good second half, and then the ending just kind of falls flat for me. It gets a little too comedic. It's a problem that I've found in a lot of these movies, man, where it's like it doesn't seem like anyone these days can hold their serious tone through the entire movie.
Yep.
And okay.
Undercut it somehow. There's nothing wrong with comedy or anything like
humor
that,
is what I would call it. Yeah. I think there's a difference. Like you have comedy, which is specifically intent on making the person laugh, and then you have humor, which helps break up sometimes like the tension or the really, really like serious moments, which is definitely fine to a degree. The problem is that when you try to do like a but-um-tsh moment in the middle of something really serious, and then you completely break the serious nature of what's happening just to have like a joke in there, so people go like, ha ha ha, well, can't take it too seriously.
As you said, there's a way, which is a good clarification. There's a way to insert humor and levity to a situation without undercutting the drama of what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. And so the guy that directed and wrote Barbarians got a new movie coming out called Weapons, about this like class of fourth graders that just completely disappears one day, and the entire town's like blaming the teacher for it, but there's like more of a mystery going on behind it. So obviously it's like, from the perspective of the trailer, it's kind of a cool thing to be like, ooh, I wonder what's really going on with this. This seems kind of enticing. But obviously it'll depend on how good the movie is, if the sort of like hook works.
Right.
I'm trying to think what else. There were some other things that I saw in the there were some other things that I saw in like trailers for 28 Years Later that looked all right. But to be honest, this is the one thing I got to start doing. Whenever I see trailers now, I have to sit down and write down the names of the movies. Yeah. Cause I can't keep up with all of them. Darren Aronofsky's got a new movie coming out. It's got Matt Smith in it. Where
I think I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's called. I sent you a text about it when I saw the trailer. It looks fun, so we'll see. I mean, you never know with trailers nowadays, because the movie could turn out to be completely different than the trailer. And this has always been a problem. It definitely feels like it's been more of a problem as of late, where you get hyped about a trailer and then you go see it and it's like, this is not what I was expecting it to be. So we'll see, man. But yeah, I don't know. I went back and I watched like Love and Monsters a couple weeks ago. So I bought a new like 4K TV and I was like, ooh, I'm gonna like watch Godzilla again in 4K and Terminator 2, and I was like, I'll watch Love and Monsters, and still holds up pretty well. Like there's definitely some what's the word I'm looking for? Some like heavy plot armor in it. But I'm fine with it. Like it's, I think the tone and like attitude of the movie still works really well for me, and it's sort of the boy and his dog story and going on this adventure in the apocalypse. And I'm still a little disappointed we're probably never going to get a sequel to it.
Yeah.
And
sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so I've just been watching a lot of that stuff, man, and like the sincerity, even if like the writing isn't quite up to what I would like it to be on some of them, the sincerity of the movies and the fact that like the plot moves forward and characters still make decisions that make sense for the way that they're written, and that it doesn't just like, completely change on you in the middle of the movie without it working. So like I was talking about Barbarian. Barbarian's a movie that I don't want to give anything away. I know you're not going to watch it, but I don't want to spoil this one because I still think it's like a really interesting way that they handle it. But about halfway through it, there's like a hard cut. And the movie practically changes, but it works. It's actually really, really well done. And it's very rare that you can have something like that happen in a movie, but it feels really intentional. Like they had a very legitimate plan for why they decided to do that. And I think it's really cool. And so it's definitely possible for you to do it, but I there's something about the like craftsmanship of it, or maybe sometimes it's like you just have an idea and then like you get it out there and the idea just works right, versus something like 28 years later where it's not quite as hard of a cut, but you have a hard enough cut to where the plot has now drifted into different territory that borderline has nothing to do with the first hour of the movie.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
And it doesn't flow, and that's where the tones are off, the themes are off, the editing's off.
I wonder if the conversation was had of like, this doesn't work.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does make me wonder, where someone reads it and they go, guys, no, you need to finish the story of the father and his son. Like, what? You set this up to be their story. Here? Yeah. And so it's weird, man. Cause like, even I was looking back, like Sinners has like such like good follow through. The Monkey was another one that I saw this year that I think, it's like you don't have any of those problems. Really, like even The Gorge, from what I remember, doesn't
more consistent.
Yeah, like like even Ballerina for the most part, like
better than this.
It does all of these movies that are sort of at the, and again, it has not been a great year, so that but these are like the ones that are kind of at the top of my list right now. They all kind of have that consistency at the very least, and like I liked the acting and some of the other elements of the movies enough to be like, this is probably the strongest stuff that I've seen so far this year. And then the stuff that is at the bottom of my list is pretty much everything that doesn't. Oh, this is definitely still worse. It's probably there. I think I still liked that better. So yeah, I need to. It'll be a decent list by the end of the year, I think. It's kind of weird looking at it right now. And there's obviously, like
I get it.
We were saying, there's still some things I need to see. I'm just, dude, I don't remember if we were live streaming when I said this to you or whatever, but like Wallace and Gromit was the first movie that I saw this year, and it's still the best movie I've seen this year as far as like stuff that's come out in 2025.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what's happening? Dude, that movie I swear, I think I watched that movie like January 10th. And
it was earlier this year.
It's almost July, and I haven't seen anything that I liked as much as that this year. And so it's still sitting. Like that, it's just sitting pretty at the top, man. And that position gets stronger and stronger for it as the year goes on. And it's like, is something gonna come out that knocks that I go like, yeah, I liked that more. Because honestly, dude, I don't think it's like a really hard position to knock that out of, and not because it's it's not a bad movie by any means, but
it's not knock your socks.
No, it's something that I love because I grew up with Wallace and Gromit. It's a sequel to one of the old shorts, and it's really well made. It's that simple.
Yep.
And that's kind of the case for Sinners. The Monkey is up there mostly because it was really funny. Like it's like dark humor, and I just appreciated it for that. Simple plot, and I probably laughed more during that than I have in most actual comedies in a while. And The Gorge was like decent. Ballerina was decent. And then everything else on my list is sort of middling to not good. It was kind of like forgettable, or I didn't really do much for me.
I don't think I have anything on my list that's that high up.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just talking about it, and maybe
it's not great. It's not a great year, man.
Would it be The Gorge or would it be Ballerina?
That's crazy.
That's not good.
No. Well, listen, F1. I don't know if F1. F1 has a chance to be higher up on the list for sure. So we'll see. I might go sneak away and go watch that this weekend. Because it seems like a fun movie to go see in the theater.
Yeah, it does.
Oh yeah, I was gonna check to see what I've been missing, or like what I haven't actually seen yet this year. I don't really care about Final Destination.
I gotta watch Warfare, and then, like I said, Death of a Unicorn. But there's some other movies I want to watch as well.
Oh, I want to watch the Amateur. I want to watch the Amateur. I guess I need to watch.
Accountant 2 as well came out.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen the first one
either. That's why I was like, maybe this would be interesting to watch.
Yeah, let's see. So I need to see the Amateur. I need to. I'm probably gonna watch Until Dawn, even though I know it's probably not very good. I'm probably gonna watch Minecraft at some point. We probably won't talk much about it though, because we don't need all the Minecraft stands coming after us.
Yeah, I almost thought about watching it this weekend, and I was like, nah.
Yeah, I haven't seen Snow White yet, and obviously that's not gonna be.
I watched it.
Bad is as bad as.
Brother, is it? Only let me rephrase that. Only watched halfway through.
Oh,
and then I was like, yeah.
You were just like done with it.
I've had enough of this. And me and my keeper both said that.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean that's all the most
what
recent.
It is.
That's
it's,
like all the.
As bad as it sounds to say, it's like I think Rachel Zegler is a better actress than Gal Gadot.
She is. Yeah, well, Gal
Gadot acting is really flat.
It's very flat, dude. She pretty much can't act.
Yeah, I'm not. But then it's also like Snow White is supposed to be fair and beautiful and more beautiful than the stepmother, and it's like, well, clearly the stepmother's.
Yeah. I mean, like no one's denying that Gal is.
You know what I mean? It's you need to show like.
Oh, dude, I saw Mickey 17
some
this year.
kind of difference.
That. Yeah. I forgot about Mickey 17, obviously. It's so funny, dude. I was watching Red Letter Media the other day, and they were talking about Mickey 17, and they had like more things to like praise about it than I did, which is kind of typical these days. Like they're kind of all over the place with their reviews of stuff or like what they like, to the point sometimes where it feels kind of inconsistent. But the one thing that they still nailed that everybody says is terrible about that movie is Mark Ruffalo.
That's funny.
Let's see.
Yeah, man, that's all I really got.
That's all I've really got too, dude. I wish I had a good recommendation.
I know, guys. I mean, I really wanted to come into this episode. I was so excited to see this movie this past weekend, and I wanted to come in with glowing reviews. I'm like, finally, something good.
Me too, dude. I was so excited. I think I had said it on the podcast last week that was like, I gotta go. Like, I went Wednesday or Thursday night to go see it. Just found like a showing that was like at a decent time or whatever, and I was like, I'm gonna go. And I was like, I got a Dr. Pepper, and was like, I'm ready and just gonna enjoy this. And started out strong, and I was pretty happy with it. And then I was just like, what are we doing? Oh, here you go.
I wonder what it's gonna do this weekend.
So fun fact, it had like a $50 million budget. So it's not
$75 million.
It's not even gonna. It's not even a movie that, like, we talk about it a lot where it's like, start making movies with lower budgets.
Yeah. So the budget was, it's reported as either being 60 or 75 million. So pretty much right in that range.
Yeah. And then I would probably just say about double on the marketing. Like, I know everyone's always like, it's 3 times or whatever, but I can't imagine that's the same. I don't think that's
I always do 2.5.
2.5
in the middle
makes sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, at the very least,
because you got to think the studio's not getting all the ticket sales back. Like percentage of that goes to the theaters, and all the whole deal.
Point being that it's like, oh look, something that's like the budget isn't outrageous.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, and it looks. I mean, I know you don't really like the editing, but the movie looks good. They like shot it on iPhones.
With lenses and
of course,
things.
yeah. I mean, yeah. We talked about this like months ago or
in
whatever.
Quotation marks.
It's
iPhones.
Well, it's shot on iPhones, but then you have like you have professional editors and people doing color correction and all this sort of stuff. So
they have a whole rig set up and way more technology involved shooting on the iPhone than
right. It's not it's not like someone went out there just with like an iPhone and shot. Like, of course they're gonna do everything professional around it. But it's still impressive that they're able to do this kind of stuff, and their budget to a degree is like a reflection of that. And so the question is like, why do we need to keep making these Marvel movies that are like, you could put out a Punisher movie for probably like 50-60 million, another Dredd movie for close to that, and then get like some like decent as far as like actors and stuff, get some draw from that a little bit, and really put it out there as like the next big thing or whatever. Like, they could still do it. I think people are just tired of the slop, and at this point, it's going to be really, I just don't know. People are just like, they're going to see like random stuff. Like, I never know like what people are really like into anymore.
Yeah.
You like talk to
Denis Villeneuve is set to direct. Breaking news, by the way, set to direct the next James Bond film. Yep. I wanted to break the news because we don't typically get that.
I mean, I like the Dune movies. I like most of the stuff that he's done. Not so much Blade Runner. Man, that movie's a slog. Looks nice. One thing you can always say about Denis Villeneuve's movies is they always look really nice. Dude's got a good team. He knows how to get the people in there. Because why do I always forget the name of this movie? The one with where Wolverine's kid gets kidnapped.
Logan?
No. He's not playing Wolverine in it, but the name of it's slipping my mind. I love that movie. It's really, really good, but the title is very forgettable.
I can't remember.
It's got Jake Gyllenhaal in it, and he plays a detective. And,
Drive?
No. Oh my gosh, it's like on the tip of my tongue. Prisoners.
Oh yes.
Yeah, Prisoners. It's really, really good movie. So yeah, all right, I'll give you 2 recommendations that are movies that did not come out this year. Watch Prisoners because it's excellent.
Yep.
And watch Whiplash because it's also excellent. I was just scrolling through Amazon. I was like, oh, Whiplash. I was like, I like that movie. Oh, brother.
Awesome, dude.
All right, dude. Well, we'll end it there tonight. We'll skip the top 100 movies this week. We'll get back to that next week. And
do it.
I'm about to crash probably. So, Joseph, thank you for another great episode. Unfortunately, another movie that will come and go, and occasionally we'll probably reference for one reason or another, but that's about it. I know you probably won't watch the sequel when it comes out. I probably will, mostly out of curiosity.
You can let me know.
Yeah, it's less about. It's not about for the next one. It's definitely not about being excited about it. It's kind of a morbid curiosity about what on earth that movie's gonna be, with just the way that they set up, with the way they set up the end of this one, and this whole idea of Jimmy, and I'm just like, what are y'all gonna do? And then, the director of it, being the woman that directed The Marvels, which was her last movie, not doing very well. I'm really curious. What an interesting choice for director.
Right.
So I guess who knows? Danny Boyle. I wonder if Danny Boyle came
back.
Maybe
we'll be surprised.
Yeah, maybe we will be. Maybe he'll be like, "Holy crap, it's better than the."
Probably not. But maybe we will be.
Yeah. We'll probably we'll wait 2 years for it, more than likely.
No, it's going to come out in January, which also isn't a good sign.
What?
Yeah.
It's that soon?
Yep.
Okay. That's nuts.
Yep, it's in January.
Coming out in January.
The Bone Temple should be coming out. Yep, January 16th of 2026, which is not good.
Don't release your movies in January. Stop doing that. It's like cursed.
Maybe this will be the exception.
Yeah, every once in a while that does happen. Where something comes out in January and it actually turns out to be pretty successful. But it's usually the dead month, so everyone just throws out all their garbage that they couldn't release the rest of the year into January just to get it out in theaters. All right. Well, Joseph,
I did.
It's been great. Thank you to the Troll Room and everybody who watches us live. Thank you for everybody who just downloads the episodes on your choice of podcast services or who watches the live after we finish. We're starting to put out some more clips again, and those are doing pretty good, and I think it'll keep doing well. And then at some point, Joseph, you got to get me the information for the Instagram stuff so I can unload all of the new shorts that I have onto there.
I'm going to start working on some clips too, so I'm going to need your Adobe stuff still the same, right?
Yeah, it is. And what I'll probably do is, if you want, what I'll probably have you do, and I know we're ending the show, and it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to... they can turn it off whenever they want now. I'll probably give you access to the Dropbox that I've been dropping all the shorts into, and you can just put them in there, and I'll go through and schedule them.
Okay.
I think that's going to be the best way to do it. That way I can spread them out. So as we start to collect them, I can upload them to all of our different social medias and then schedule them, as we go along. Because right now I'm just trying to make the effort to do one a week and then get back in the swing of things, and then hopefully begin to do more than one a week.
That's my goal.
I think
is as well.
Yeah. From our last episode, I've got it cut up some, and I'm gonna try to get quite a few out from that one, because there's some stuff we talked about with Jurassic World movies making $1 billion and Ballerina, and then I want to put the stuff.
You got to do a Superman versus Jurassic Rebirth. who will make the most.
That's like the first one.
Maybe I'll try and cut it out.
That's like the first one. It's already done.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I was like, I basically scan through our podcast and try to find like points where we're talking about something, and then I'll cut like a big section of it, and then I'll cut it into smaller sections, and then sometimes I'll do like part 1 and part 2, and then other times I'll just be like, okay, I like this section. I was like, ooh, but I also like this. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make these into 2 separate shorts to keep them short.
But you haven't released it yet, but you've done it.
It's done, yeah. I gotta make one adjustment that I forgot to do on it, but other than that, it's done.
Nice.
And then there's another one where I'm going through and being like, here are the numbers for all of the Jurassic World movies, and then it'll end on something like, people love their big dumb dinosaur movies.
That'll get people talking.
Oh, dude. Be like, what? They're not dumb. Yeah, dude. The laser pointer on the end of a machine gun that makes a velociraptor attack people, definitely not dumb. All right. On that note, Joseph. And to everyone listening to this, wherever you listen to this show, thank you all. And until next time, y'all take it easy.
Enjoy your big dumb dinosaurs.
Rawr.